What's up, everybody? Good late afternoon. We've got one more right guard video to get through, and it's the depth. So I'm just going to go ahead and say it. I don't know how much interest there should be in getting any of these guys for the Seahawks. Um, Theoretically, we should have right guard depth. Like, if you're looking for a right guard backup, the guys that you have right now, you should be able to find one. You've got Anthony Bradford, you've got Lomia. One of those two guys you should be able to look at and say, hey, that's my backup. Even if you think the other guy is good enough to be the starter in 2025, the other guy should be good enough to be the backup. And I would say that that's probably better than signing any of these guys. It's going to be cheaper. It's going to be something that you have with a little more upside. So, straight up, we're just doing this to be completionist more than exploring realistic options. I don't think getting any of these guys makes a lot of sense unless you want to have them as like a utility backup where maybe they also provide depth on the left side or at center. Some of these guys do have a track record of playing multiple positions. So that's something to consider. But we have three right guards on the team right now. And even if Haynes gets moved, you should be able to find one competent backup between the other two guys. You just should. If not, that's really sad. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the names regardless, though. It is going to be lightning round because, it's depth. First guy's Kendrick Green, drafted in the third round a few years ago by Pittsburgh, played 1 year there. Looked like maybe he was on his way to becoming a viable starter in this league, but he missed all of 2022. Went to Houston, barely played these last 2 years, so it's just kind of rolled over on him, I guess. It's just kind of turned into a thing where he's just a backup at this point. He is going to turn 27 in December, so he's still young. He was a top 100 pick, but he's got a long way to go to earn the right to become a starter at this point. 2024, when he did play, which wasn't a lot, he was graded horribly. His pass blocking grade in particular was untenable. And most of it was at right guard. Some of it was at left guard. That's one positive thing here. This guy's played all three interior spots. He just hasn't played any of them all that well. So Spotrack says 1 year, 2.2 million. Given that he's young and he does have some pedigree, that makes sense to me. I think I could see this guy getting the, 1 year, 2.2 million, which seems excessive for a guy who was this bad last year, if this is how bad he actually was. But I do think that pedigree counts for something. And he is about to hit his prime, right? Quote unquote prime. I don't know if prime is going to help a guy of this low level, but that is going to be worth something. Greg Van Roten, another interesting name here for the guard slot. Had a nice long career. He's been bouncing around the league for a while now, though. Green Bay took several years off. Carolina, New York, Buffalo, Vegas, New York again, the other New York. So he's been around, but the last 2 years he's been a full-time starter. So he still has some credibility in him. He still has some ability to be an effective football player, and he's showed it the last 2 seasons, really. We're talking about 17 and 17. Bad teams. He's been on bad teams, of course, but it is there is some credibility here. I would just not sign him as a starter. I understand that he started the last 2 years, but he's about to turn 35, and it's not like he was a great starter or anything like that. He was okay. PFF thought he was decent last year, 63.4, barely top half, but as a most of the time right guard, giving up 7 sacks and 35 pressures isn't super exciting. That's just okay. So I wouldn't sign this guy as a starter. I just wouldn't. And the year before that, played the whole season at right guard, 75.3. That's really good. That's really good, but he's at the age now where he's going to start going bad quickly, and I don't want to be left holding the bag on him. Spotrack says 1 year, 2.2 million. That's probably appropriate. You sign him as a quality backup, and you hope he doesn't have to play. Wes Schweitzer, another guy who's been around for a little bit here, spent some time in Atlanta, spent some time at Washington, last 2 years in New York. He really hasn't been playing much lately. I'll just go ahead and admit that right now. If you're looking for recent examples of his play, there isn't going to be a ton. He's going to turn 32 in early September, or mid-September rather. So age is starting to become a thing as well with Schweitzer. Yeah, Schweitzer. So definitely buyer beware here. He's started 2 games combined over the last 2 seasons. Didn't really do much with the Jets. And last time he had a meaningful sample size of play at right guard was 2023. He was graded pretty poorly, 52.7. We're not pumped about that, but it seems like he is just barely good enough to continue to be in the NFL. He does not have a market value page, but his last contract was 2 years, 5 million. So I think you're looking at something like 1 year, 2 million because he didn't play. So 1 year, 2 million. He gets a chance to kind of prove that he still has it while getting paid a little bit for a history of playing a decent amount of football and not being that old yet. Schweitzer is not, 35 like Van Roten is. He's going to turn 32 right about the time the season starts. Not untenable yet. So not a terrible idea. Ben Cleveland. Here's a really interesting one. This guy's huge. He'd fit right in on that Eagles offensive line that won the Super Bowl. Top 100 pick a few years ago. Never really got to play that much, though. He's been on the Ravens the last 4 years. He started a grand total of 7 games, including none last year. So we just haven't really had a chance to see what he can do. 2023 was the last time he played anything meaningful as far as we're concerned. 143 snaps at right guard. 68.2. I mean, that's pretty good, but it's such a small sample size. I don't know what we're going to take away from that. Now, at the end of the day, he's a backup. If we signed him, we wouldn't want him to play that much either. But, yeah, Ben Cleveland has he certainly knows how to be a backup, right? And the year before that, 2022, he played a tiny bit, graded well, but we just haven't got a chance to see this guy spread his wings yet. And I don't think he's done anything to earn the right to be able to do that. You can't hand this guy a starting job, I don't think, unless you're really trying to get away with something. Unless you're just like, okay, we're so good at every other position, we can afford to take a chance on a guy like a Ben Cleveland, and it's not that big of a deal if he's not good because we'll make him look good in our offense. Botrax says 1 year, 2 million. Sounds about right. Interesting potential because he is such a big guy, and he is going to turn 27 here pretty soon. He is theoretically coming into his prime, but he's proven nothing. Mark Glowinski. That name may sound familiar to a lot of you. Former Seahawk. Was a 4th-round pick of the Seahawks in 2015. Going to turn 33 in May. So age starting to become a thing, but he's put together a nice career. Unfortunately, his best play all came after he left the Seahawks. He was kind of a Tom Cable victim, I think. I think Tom Cable made him look a lot worse than he was, didn't develop him. When he went to Indianapolis, he became a really nice guard over on the right side, was a starter on the Giants for a little bit, and then last year he went back to the Colts and played 5 games. So, has some recent experience playing meaningful football, has some recent experience piling up meaningful snaps. So, not a bad option if you're looking for just a stopgap depth piece. Not graded well at all in 2024. You have to understand you're probably getting a guy who's mostly washed up and is just going to provide base level competence at right guard. So you're not getting somebody that you can realistically expect to start. Year before was a little bit better, I guess. 63.3 is all right. But you're still not terribly excited about any of this. He played half a season and he allowed 24 pressures as a right guard mostly, although he did play a lot of left guard this year too. So it's not like the play is exemplary, it's just competent. So I guess this one would be okay because of the dual value at left guard, but I'm not a huge fan of this. Botrax says 1 year, 1.7 million. I mean, I guess that's about right. I just kind of feel like the cliff is coming with him in a way that is more pronounced than even a guy like Greg Van Roten. Jake Hanson of the Packers, of the Jets. Never been a full-time starter. Started 4 games a couple years ago for the Jets. That's about as good as it gets with him. That's about the most we've learned about him. He's still young, I guess. He's going to turn 28 in April. PFF thought he was pretty good last year, over 100 snaps, all of them at right guard, but we're not going to learn much from that. I mean, that's okay, I guess. 69.9 gets the job done. Year before that, when he played a little bit more, again, all at right guard, it was much worse. One of the barely top 100 out of 136 guards. So, understand what you're getting here with Jake Hanson. He is a pure backup. He is somebody that you just want to have on the roster because he's generally competent, but not really good at anything that you're going to need him to be good at. 1 year, 1.1 million. That sounds about right to me. That sounds about appropriate for a guy who is a pure backup. This isn't even like a Greg Van Roten situation where with Van Roten you can at least make an argument that he's starter caliber. I don't think it's a good argument, but you can make the argument. Hanson's a pure backup, so he gets basically the minimum. And one more guy we're going to take a look at here. It's Nate Herbig. Nate Herbig of most recently the Pittsburgh Steelers. Was a Jet, was an Eagle, spent some time on both those teams. Actually started quite a few games. Last year, only 2. Year before that, we did get a decent look at him. 11 starts, not bad. Young guy. He's going to turn 27 in July, it looks like. So that's encouraging, I guess. But to me, he is pretty much just a backup. Well graded last year, but very small sample size. Only 125 right guard snaps, 31 left guard snaps. Dual value helps a little, I guess. Year before that, when he actually played most of the season and all of it at right guard, graded pretty average. 58, it's okay. We can live with it. We're not pumping our fist about this one, but it's adequate. And according to Spotrac, he's going to cost about as little as a player can cost. 1 year, 1 million. Now, I don't think he can make that little. I think the vet min demands he gets like 1.3, but either way, it's fine. No problem. Should be okay. All right, those are your depth options. Again, this is all kind of theoretical. I don't think we're in the market for a depth right guard. If we're in the market for any right guard at all, it should be a starter, not one of these guys who's just barely hanging around on the fringe of the NFL. But let me know what you guys think. I'll see you guys later. Go Hawks. And that's the right guard position. Moving on to a new spot tomorrow.